Okay, so to replace the class that we are having due to this holiday, so I'm just going to quickly go through with you some of the things that you should do for the dimension, how to do the dimension properly for the drawing. So today we're going to cover quickly on dimensioning, the rules, and then how to add the center mark and the center line. I think center line mostly we have done in a class, so you have no issue with that. So let's look at what I call this the the way we have to put in the dimension. So as you can see, we have the linear dimension, which we are very familiar with. We know the baseline, and we have the arrow, and we have the text. So for angular kind of dimension, again, we have this form, and for diameter, we normally have the symbol and also the measurement and the center mark. And for radius, and also when we do it continuously, how do we arrange them and such. So one of the things that I always emphasize in the class is that make sure that your dimension line do not touch the subject, the object. Because when you touch the object, then it will change the shape of the object. Make sure that you have offset your dimension line to a certain distance that is not touching, even to the center line. So you should actually make sure that it's not touching the center line. It's actually starting from that center line. All right. So the line we use in dimensioning. So first is to control the arrow and the distance from the object and the text which we have. So the extension line, which is from the dimension, and then the distance, how far is it away from the the object. How do we arrange them? And then make sure that there is a gap between the center line and also the dimension line, and the gap between the extension line and also the object. So the object should be drawn with a thicker line, which is zero point 0.3, and then this should be the default. What do you call it? The dimension line should be the default uh, line thickness. All right. So I'm sure that you remember this, the layer. So that for the dimension layer, we will put it in red in color, and the line is continuous. So the others, which I'm sure you are familiar with, the guideline is yellow, the center line, oh, the center line should be green. Sorry, this is wrong. The center line should be cyan, it should be center. This shouldn't be white. And the hidden line is magenta, which is a hidden line. All right. Okay. So look at the dimension style. Normally is standard or ISO 25. But then I normally prefer to create another one using my own name, so I know exactly what I wanted to use for that. I'll show you after this in the video. All right. Okay. So normally is ISO 25 or standard, but normally I create another one, the dimension style, so that I will follow only my style in the process of drawing. So to get this, you can just type dimension style, and then you should get what I call this window for you to control the dimension. I will show you in the AutoCAD after this. Okay, so the line, you can actually adjust the line, whether is it extension. So if the extension line is clicked, so you should have not only the number, but then also the line to the center mark of the circle. And then the rest you can control the arrow, the text. You want it to be on top, or is it vertical or horizontal, and all those things you can adjust in the system. Okay, so of course when we do object apa nama ni, dimension line, we can actually use object snap to make sure that we catch the point that we want, so that we can have a exact measurement between the 2 points or the angle. Yeah. All right. This one I'm going to show you after this how to do continuous, and then make sure that everything is by layer. So everything that you set on the dimension layer, it will be follow once you are in that layer. Yeah. Okay. All right, and then to do radius and all that, I'm going to show you very quickly after this. And to include the center mark and the size of the center mark, we can just use a command, or we can actually search for it in the ribbon. Yeah? All right, and then center line, as I mentioned, we already did quite a bit in the class, so I think we have no issues on this because the layer we also created and we already drawn on the center line. So center line, no issue. Basically, it shouldn't be inside the object. It should be extended outside the object. Yeah. All right. So the placement of the dimension line is important. Um, so make sure that there are not so much crossing line between. If possible, try to arrange them in such a nice way that they are not crossing each other. So this will not look good for the overall dimension. And then if you really have to cross, then you have to create a break in between. So there should be a dimension break which you can control from the command in the AutoCAD, and then don't leave it in such a manner. So arrange that the short one is in the inside and the longer one outside. So again, when you arrange, make sure that not like this, but then it's properly done with the line, and then try to arrange them in the same height, not running. One is higher, one is lower, and so forth. So make sure that they are all nice to the eye, and then make them look more professional. Instead of having uh, all kind of style in one dimension method. Okay, and then you can actually set your text horizontal, or sometimes you want it vertical or whatever. So you can set all those things in the dimension style. And then if they are all arranged in such a manner, try to adjust the text so that it will not be in one row. So this one is okay because the distance between each of them is still okay. But then if they are too crowded, make sure that you shift the text to make it easier to read. eh? Uh, and then this is what I mentioned many times in the class. Don't put the dimension inside the object. It's not good. Bring it outside. And then this all the dimension line is inside the object. This is not good. Bring it outside. The dimension line and the dimension size and all that should be outside rather than inside the object, because once it's inside the object, it will change the shape of the object and it will not look very clear for that. Yeah? And then we have not done this yet. This is for sectioning later when you have hatch in the drawing. So when you have that, it's better to put the dimension outside. Or if it has to be inside, then make sure that it is clear. So that make sure that it's clear and not together with the hatching. Yeah. All right. I think the rest, the setting of it, you can decide on your drawing. And this is again on the hatching side. Make sure that it is nicely done. And then when it's diameter or radius, make sure that is shown on the curve side, rather than shown the diameter on the straight line, or what I call this linear dimension. Make sure that is shown using the curve rather than the linear dimension. So arrangement is important because it make the drawing look very much nicer compared to a different kind of arrangement. Again, one of the things that I mentioned many times in the class is that don't repeat your dimension. If you have already 12 here, so it's understood this is 12. So that is, you can just choose one. You don't need to put you don't need to put both together. So normally this side there is no dimension, so you can delete this one and just leave one dimension will do. Yeah, and then again, if the total length is already given, there is no need to give everything. So giving two dimension is enough. This is already understood that we can calculate by minusing what I call this these two number. Yeah? So again, if you have the total length already, so there is no need to put too many. Yeah? So one will do. Yeah? So this one is automatically calculated from the difference between the two. Yeah? So again, uh, use common sense. If you know the angle by right, you should know the distance. Yeah? So this is understood. So don't put too many dimension lines because it will make the drawing look very messy. Yeah? So again, you have too many of this because this is already giving you all the information 120 diameter and the total is 46. You do not need all this. So this will do and then this will do. So with these two, the rest is understood. Yeah? And again, if you have four similar fillet, there is no need to put for all four. So just one will actually be able to describe the rest. So again, the same thing here. Don't repeat too many. If they are the same, so these two whole with zero point 0.5, so it's understood. There is no need to repeat the other one here. Yeah. So so as I said, try to reduce the dimension line as much as possible. Yeah. So again, if you know the diameter here, you know the radius, you do not need to repeat the same thing here. And if you already know here and you know the radius here, so there's no point putting in extra information here because it's understood. Yeah? So if you already draw the diameter here, so there is no need to repeat the same thing here. Yeah? So you can see many of the things is actually repeated. You have 35, you have 12 radius, so this is understood. There's no need to put. So the same thing here, you have 56.5, you have 12 radius, there is no need for this. Yeah. So the same thing here. Yeah? So you have too much dimension to show, then it will make it look very messy. Okay. Again, you will see that the distance between two holes is better to put on the object which is very obvious rather than put it using the center line here. So make sure that you place it at a proper place rather than put it in a place which will make it not clear. So all this I think is very obvious that as much as possible try to put the dimension line outside the the object. Okay, now I want to quickly show you how to place your dimension line. Let me zoom in. Sorry. So as you can see, between these two, so if I want to give information like this, so it will look very messy. One is high, one is low, and then everything is do not have a standard. Actually, we can quickly modify them by. So if I want to make these two similar, so first what I do, I would delete this dimension line. So I will change to the dimension layer. And if I were to draw the dimension between this and this and bring it up, actually I can specify the distance that I want. Sorry, let me do the thing again. So I have to make sure that the auto snap is on, the object snap is on. So I snap the endpoint and the endpoint and going up. This is 60. So if I want to put it at the distance of 50 from this object, so I just type 50. Okay, and it is automatically distant of 50 from here. So when I do the next one, and I just type again 50, so it will be on the same level. So it looks so much nicer. Yeah? So it looks so much nicer. And again, this one, I can actually set the same standard. Yeah? So again, I can put it here and I put 50. I just type 50. So all of them will look very professional, because they have the same distance away from the object. So this one, if I want it to be about half from there, so again I can set, I say maybe 25. 25 from there. So I can do that. If I want it to be 20 or if I want it to be 15, I can always set the same thing so that they all look the same, like what we want. Yeah. Okay. So there's one way of arranging your dimension. So you want to make sure that they are all standard. So if the distance, the furthest one is 50, so whether it's on this side or on the other side, so they are all the same. Yeah. So that's how you arrange your dimension. The other one is to use continuous. You don't have to, what do you call this? You don't have to what do you call it? Do it many times. So that you can go under here, and you should draw your linear one first. The first one, let's say you put 50, the distance is 50, and the second one you can just click this one, which is continue. So you can just go here and it will straight away draw for you the other one. Yeah. So you can use continuous if you have a long list of linear line, so you can continue like this. Yeah. And then if you do not like the text here, you can actually shift it inside. So you just click on the text, and then you just move text and move it further inside, or maybe you can move it inside the the object. Yeah? So you will look something like this. Yeah? You can make arrangement just like this one here. If we can zoom in, this one. Okay, so let's say I can zoom in this one. So if the number 10 here doesn't look nice for you, so what you do, you just click on the dimension, and then you just bring your cursor there, and then go to move text, and you can now move it to wherever that you want. Yeah? So you can move it to the place that you want, so that it look nicer, based on the location that you want them to be. Yeah. So that's how you arrange your dimension. Okay. All right. The other one is the center mark. Yeah? So if you need the center mark, then you can just type on the screen, center mark. So I just click on the, so it's a center mark, but it's big. If you do not like it, it's too big, then you can delete the center mark. Sorry. You can control the size. You can just put dim center, and you can adjust the size that you want. So if you want the center mark, you can just put dim center, this one, and you click on the circle, you will see the red center mark there. Yeah? If you think it's too small, you want it bigger, you can adjust the size. I will delete first. So pick this one first. This one first. I will put dim center. So this one is for you to adjust the size. So let's say we put it 0.5. I put it 0.5. So now I put the center mark in center, and now is big, is 0.5. But if it's too big, we can always adjust the size. Maybe I'll change it back again. So what I do, I'll just say dim center, dim cent, and then I adjust it to 0 0.1. Yeah. So I enter. Then I say dim center again to put back. When I put it, like now is nicer. Yeah? The center mark is not so big and it's not so small. Yeah. All right. So that's how you adjust your dimension. And the other one, of course, you can do also the radius, the diameter, and so forth. So let's say the radius, you can just do it here and put the radius, but then there's nothing pointing to the center. So if you want an extension line, you can actually go to here. So as you can see, I already created a star using my name. So you can also create another one. So here I'm just using this, and I'm going to say modify. And if I go to line, I say fix line extension, and I just close it. By right, it should be, sorry, this is modified. So line, sorry, it should be under, sorry, draw line extension, draw dim line extension. So I say, so you see, when I click on draw line, dim line extension, the line will appear here. So it will go to the middle. So if I now, so you see this thing appear here. Yeah? So before this, there was none. So if I were to change it back again, once more, sometimes I couldn't remember all this command as well. So if I were to take away this and I say, okay, so now there is no extension line to the middle. Yeah. Again, you can shift the text or the dim line or whatever to the position that you want. You want it higher, then it doesn't look good, and you can always change and all that. So I'll delete this one. If you want diameter, you can do the same. Yeah. You can do the same. Again, if you were to add the extension line, uh, if you modify and you say draw extension line, so the line will appear. Yeah? The line will appear in between that. Yeah. All right. So as I said, adjust the distance and make sure that you follow a standard that you want to. And then, of course, this is too far, so you can adjust them back to the position that you want, and then your drawing should look very nice with all that. I think did I miss anything? I think I cover most of the thing that I want in here. So for the others, you can always adjust the size of the line, the arrow size, what kind of arrow that you want. And the break here is actually to adjust when you have the dimension line crossing each other, how much you want the break to be. And then the text, you can have it in the center, or you can have it above. You see, above is something like this. If we say center, it is always taken out. And then you can adjust, or you want it horizontal, you want it aligned to the alignment, or you want it ISO. ISO will be a standard. So you can always adjust how you want it to be. Is it above? If it's above, it's always like this. So you can adjust all this here. And the primary unit, I'm sure you now know how to control your decimal point. Don't leave all the decimal point at the top there. All right, I think I have covered most of the thing that I want to cover. I hope after this I see a more organized way of dimension line presentation from you in the what I call this in your presentation for your assignment too. So I will see you back next week for the test. Okay, I think that's all for now. Uh, how do I stop that? Okay, so okay, I